Hello and welcome to another episode of the djproject Criterion Collection. And here we're going to talk about Spine 597, Tiny Furniture, directed by Lena Dunham, 2010. Okay, brace yourselves. This is where djproject gets into rant mode, and it will very likely sound like a sailor. So, fair warning. Now, as I said way back when I mentioned Chasing Amy, there have been occasionally a title that has been a part of the Criterion Collection where plenty of people look at it and they go, what the fuck? What is this title doing there? Chasing Amy is one of those titles, and, well, for the longest time it was Chasing Amy and the two Michael Bay films. Yes, two Michael Bay films are on the Criterion Collection, Armageddon and The Rock. Though, to be fair, this was before it got really, really insane crazy with, like, Pearl Harbor or Transformers and so on. But this, now, Tiny Furniture is the latest title to get a lot of shit. It's one of those things where it's hard to find it's not impossible, but it's difficult to find a well-reasoned, well-constructed statement in why this film doesn't work or why this film has problems and so forth. It's mostly, you know, fuck Tiny Furniture, fuck Lena Dunham, all in garden variety. I mean, it's the YouTube comment thing. It's the it's the worst of IMDb message posts and every other message board. I mean, yeah, this title gets a lot of shit on it for all kinds of reasons, and I think in large part because I really don't know where the vehemence comes in. I'm not even going to try to explain it because it's one of those things where it comes down to a lot of emotional reactions. You know, you see the film or you see something about her and there's just something about her that just rubs you the wrong way. Whether it's her personally, whether it's that she's a hot new darling, she's with girls, which I haven't seen. I don't have a television myself, so much less cable, and much less HBO. I don't know if I'm really interested in getting into that. Maybe, but now I'm not that particularly interested. So it could be because of that. It's just all kinds of stuff. So what I'm going to try to do, I mean, first off, I'm just going to be honest. Which means I'm going to talk about how I got into this, what I actually like about the film, what I have problems with the film, and also what I have problems with in reactions in general. So here we go. Now, why the fuck did I get into this film? I'm assuming I'm talking to somebody that likes to just go, what the fuck, all the time. Again, this is why I give the warning beforehand. So why the fuck did you get into this? Well, this is a title that came out of nowhere for me, which sounds odd because, you're supposed to be this big film aficionado. You hadn't heard about this? Well, one, there's only so many films that, I mean, even where I live, which is near Boston, it's still not it's not like in New York or Los Angeles where it's easier to see many films, certainly when they first come out. I mean, usually with the premieres, it's almost always New York or Los Angeles. And so I have to wait until it comes into Boston. Yes, I'm able to see a lot more films more easily in Boston compared to where I used to live in Virginia outside of Washington, D.C. But I still don't get everything. And two, I explore things in my own way, and it was probably one of those things where it just slipped under my radar, or it didn't even register in my radar until much later. And yes, how this film first came to my attention was that it was going to come out on Criterion. And it was a combination of seeing the synopsis, like what was what you found on the website, and also their 3 reasons video that made it seem like, okay, I think this is a worthy. I'll keep this in mind. I don't know if I'm gonna actually go all right and purchase it, but I want to give this a shot at some point. And sure enough, I did go out on a limb to actually go and purchase it. Interestingly enough, this was the same day that I purchased Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, and they both share the same cinematographer, Jolie Lips. Albeit they shot it in different. It was shot using different cameras and slightly different styles. But I found that kind of interesting. That coincidentally, I got 2 films came out at roughly the same time, and shot by and had the same cinematographer. So, anyways, so I got this, and for the most part, I like it. I'll be honest. Again, I'm being honest here. I like it, but there's reservations. Okay, what is it that I like about this film? Well, the film, in a nutshell, it's a story about this girl named Aurora, played by Lena Dunham herself, who has just come back from a Midwestern liberal arts school, and I knew as soon as that was said, I knew exactly where it was. I did not even have to go into a Wikipedia page to know that Lena Dunham was a student at Oberlin College. How do I know this? Is because I've actually visited there, and I did consider for a spell maybe I should go there. Although, thankfully there's 2 big reasons why I didn't even apply to there. Number one, it would have been expensive to go there. Certainly compared to going to William and Mary, because as a Virginia resident, I qualified for in-state tuition. So, and it's a public college in Virginia. So there you go. And 2, given various things about me and various interests, and also considering what happened to me during college, I probably would have been lynched within the first week or so. I would have been hung out to dry while I was there. So again, I want to be very honest here. So anyway, so I knew that it was supposed to be Oberlin where this takes place. But anyways, so she comes back to her mother and her sister, and they're both played by her actual mother and her actual sister, in her apartment in the Tribeca section of Manhattan in New York. And it's the post-college depression, and that's really that's probably the main reason why, certainly one of the reasons, but it's a big reason why I like the film is because it's set during that post-college depression, and it's something that I understand. I understand what that time means, because when you're in college, it really is, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say it's a vacation, but you certainly have a great time. And a lot of why it's a great time is because you feel like you're more of yourself, you're doing more of the things you like to do, you have all of your needs met, you don't have to worry about having a roof over your head or having food to eat, because that's already been addressed. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And I really mean that. It's not sarcastic. So when you have those needs satisfied, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As soon as you get the basic needs fulfilled, then you have a chance to work on other things, and it's a very, very satisfying experience, and it's a very enjoyable experience. But it only lasts for 4 years. I know there are people that like to push it for longer, and I know that 4 years is now becoming more of the exception rather than the rule. for all kinds of reasons. But at any rate, so it's a very short time. It's you know it's intensely fun, but it's you know it's intensely enjoyable. But it only lasts for 4 years, and then comes afterwards, and now what? Now what do I do? And it's you feel it's all kinds of things that come. I mean, yes, it's part of it is that you're no longer in that fun environment. You're not in the place where you feel more like at home. And I remember feeling that. I mean, I felt that William and Mary was my home. When I call her my alma mater, it's very, very sincere and very genuine. I really do feel like she was my alma mater. And now I'm no longer there. And it's now what do I do? And for me it was less now what do I want to do, it's how can I get to do what I want to do. And and I knew that I wanted to do something creative. I knew that film was going to play a role. I knew that music was going to play a role, but the question was how exactly could it be done? Because those are not the easiest professions to pursue. It's a very, very tough mountain to climb. It's not like in other professions where it's pretty much clear cut or the road is already there. It's just a matter of taking the road and then you're more or less there. So, but it's still quite depressing because it is a long haul. You have a certain pressure, and actually a lot of the pressure came internally. Because I didn't want to live with my parents. I mean, I love them. They're great. They're very supportive, very loving. They're probably the best parents that you could have, even with their various quirks and problems. I mean, we all have our hiccups in our upbringing. I mean, it's ever there. I mean, it was never without problems. But considering the problems I could have inherited, I didn't. And I'm still, bottom line, I'm very, very grateful for them. But nonetheless, I didn't want to live with them. And it's not because I didn't love them or it's just that I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to finally be my own man and live my own life. And it was a very frustrating affair, especially nowadays, which leads into the other reason why I like this, is that this situation is covered in films like Kicking and Screaming, that sort of post-college ennui, that post-college depression. But this is a film that was written and directed by a millennial. And it was made in 2010. Actually, it was one of those things where it was shot in 2009, released in 2010. So it's much more contemporary, which means that it addresses in its characters issues that are relevant, that are much more relevant to my generation. First and foremost, there's the internet, because one of the things that this is kind of the depressing thing about college, and this is also something that you get from Kicking and Screaming, is that college provides you with the means of making an achievement. You know, you get a degree, and part of getting that degree is you concentrate on a subject, and part of concentrating on a subject is you have to satisfy certain requirements, which includes at the very end having some kind of project, whether it be a thesis or a performance or whatever you choose to do, depending on the subject, that is supposed to be a culmination of everything that you have done in that 4 years. So you've made this achievement, and then the question, then after it's done, it's like, okay, now what? And you have really nothing to go on, and you feel this. You feel like you have to rely on your laurels, but your laurels are not even all that much. It's usually like one or two things. Well, in this case, she has some other laurels, which was making stupid internet videos. So yes, there's a lot of comments on the internet. So in a way, it's kind of a situation where life imitates art, considering going back to a little bit of the reactions to this, considering the sort of the quick, vehement YouTube comments like "fuck tiny furniture" or "fuck Lena Dunham," "put some fucking pants on," which actually is explicitly said well, maybe not that explicit. It's just get some pants or something, or put your pants on. Yeah, so yeah, life imitates art. But anyways, so but it's also not just the internet culture that is prevalent here. It's also something that unfortunately does define the millennial generation or Generation Y. And this is where I get into somewhat confessional mode, somewhat mea culpa mode. Like, okay, I know the reputation or the image of millennials being self-absorbed, selfish, whiny, overprivileged brats. I get it. I totally get it. It's the whole, you get a trophy just for participating. It's the whole, everybody's a winner. Let's not keep score because it will hurt our precious self-esteem. I get all of that. I was fully aware of it, and I thought it was stupid then, and I still think it's stupid now. And it is, it is a detriment. It is stupid. It's a hindrance that had happened. I also believe that there are plenty of people who saw past the bullshit and set out to achieve great things anyway, and be proud of it. I mean, I'm proud of the accomplishments. I mean, I feel that what I have done thus far, I can be proud of. I am proud of my degree from William & Mary because I knew I worked hard for it. I worked very hard. Could I have worked harder in some areas? Yes. Could I have done some things differently? Of course. But nonetheless, considering what I was able to do, and especially, it's not just what I was able to do, but what I was able to do given some other things that happened, and some, it's all part of the experience, that I was able to achieve it, to achieve that degree. I'm very proud of it. And I absolutely refuse to apologize for it. I do not think of it as a hindrance. I don't think of it as a badge of shame. I don't treat it as a waste of time or a waste of money. And I refuse to apologize for it. It was a well-earned degree, and I knew that my sweat was in that my sweat is in that parchment. Not literally, but it's there. The sweat and blood is there. And because of that, and it's genuine. There was a true exertion put on there. Because of that, I have no reason to apologize for it. So yeah. So yeah, I know that it does, but in a way the film acknowledges that, and that's why I like it. It's that it is a film that is made by our generation, by my generation, and for better and for worse, I should say. It's I'm looking forward to more statements that are made by my generation. I hope it's not the only one, not because I think it's bad, it's just that I think those kind of things benefit from multiple voices and multiple viewpoints. I don't think that Lena Dunham is a spokeswoman for my generation, and that gets into a little bit of what I find problems with the film, and also by extension with her in particular. But anyway, I want to focus on the good first. And so yeah, it's set in the present time, and this is the other thing about the millennial generation. And I'm still kind of going through this, and I'm still kind of pissed off about the whole thing. We were, a great many of us were raised, whether we got this from our parents, whether we got this from school, whether we got this from the culture, no matter how we got this idea, a great many of us grew up to believe that, especially if we were born middle class, that if we went to college, that it would help us in our lives, so that we would have a better position. It would be so that, you know, things will be okay down the road. And a great many of us are realizing that that's total bullshit. There's, you know, the state of the economy. You know, regardless of the state of the economy now, it's it's very tough. I know there are other people that have it worse than others. I get it, but especially for my generation, it's really tough. You have basically where we are paid less, and we are expected to earn less. It's almost like we are expected to earn less than what our degrees may allow us to have. In other words, if you came into it thinking that, oh, if we have a bachelor's, then we can make a little bit less than the median household income. I mean, I don't think any of us expected to have six figures right off the bat. But certainly we could make something pretty decent, like, well, maybe like 35 or maybe 40K and such. But no, that's not really the case. Because you need more experience. It's not enough just to have a bachelor's. You now have a master's. And then this is the really aggravating part, is where you live. If you live in a high cost of living area, it's nearly impossible to have a sustainable, self-sustaining life in that area. It was bad in Washington, D.C. It's less bad in Boston, but still pretty difficult. And I knew it was going to be atrocious in New York and Los Angeles, so that's why I ruled those out completely, because I knew that I was going to make pittance compared to what I need to pay in order to justify yourself. And so you have to make all of these various cuts. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't make those cuts. I mean, I understand about sacrifice. I understand about starting out. But at the same time, I also feel like there's no progress. You're stuck on this level, and then you're stuck in this particular strata, and then that's it. But you're also expected to do more. So in other words, there's all these undue pressures and all these expectations, but you don't feel as if you can make it happen. You can fulfill those expectations. You're expected to do more with less. And sometimes that can be inspiring, but other times it can be really frustrating, especially if you're trying to be the responsible adult and pay your bills on time and fulfill any and all obligations that you have. It's really frustrating, and it feels. And then plus you have the image that's going around that, oh, you're an overprivileged, spoiled brat. It just makes it really tough. I'm not saying that millennials had it tough than other people, and it goes back to the whole solipsistic, overpraised, overhyped thing. But again, I'm also being honest. So going back to the film itself, Aurora has to deal with that. And now is the way she deals with it the only way to do it? No, but at least it's acknowledged, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. The other reason why I like it, and this is more on a technical level, is that this film, in a way, feels very similar to Slacker, in that it shows that it can be possible to make a film with limited means and a small budget and still look good. This is a film that was shot using the Canon EOS 7D. Basically, it's a digital SLR camera. And I think of those cameras as the equivalent of shooting 16mm, just in terms of just comparing the resolutions you get out of the cameras compared to its respective film gauge. But it was shot using that, and it was the budget was reported to be $65,000, but it looks pretty good. It actually looks really good. In fact, it's one of those films where I have to remind myself that it was shot using a digital SLR camera. It didn't have that video look. A few places I did sort of notice it, but most of the time it felt like it was as if it was shot in 35mm. And again, it's interesting because I also got this at the same time as Martha, Marcy, May, and Marlene, which was shot using 35mm film. And so, I mean, that's a testament to. So the bottom line, cinematography does make a difference. You know, it shouldn't matter too much what you use to shoot it. It's all about how well you light it, how well you position the camera, and then it's what's in front of the camera. It's the performances, it's the setting, those things. If you can see those things and you can feel those things, that's what really matters. It shouldn't matter that if it was shot, whether it was shot on film or shot using digital means. It really shouldn't matter. A good film is a good film. There's plenty of good films that have been shot digitally. There have also been some bad films shot digitally. Likewise, there have been good films shot on film, and there are bad films shot on film. That's not what's going to determine it. It's a summation of many different parts. Now let's talk about the reservations I have with the film, and I do. Even though in the end I like this film, I also have some problems with it. One is some of the performances are uneven, and there are also some moments where in the dialogue, I mean, the dialogue on the whole is pretty good, and especially for a first-time filmmaker, even though she's written before and she's made videos prior to this, but this is her first, and this isn't even her first feature film. Or feature-length film, I should say. She did make one prior to this, so again, it's kind of here again another Richard Linklater connection. But this was her first film to really break out and really make a name for herself, which is why she ended up making Girls in the end. But anyway, so while the dialogue for the most part is really good and even witty in a lot of places, it feels very uneven. There are some moments where both the dialogue and the delivery, it goes from feeling very real and very genuine to where it feels like it's obvious that it's dialogue. And I think it's a combination of the delivery and the way that the lines are constructed. It doesn't feel like it's a real person. It feels like it's read through. You could tell that this was written and read and memorized. And this is something that, I mean, it's just something that I notice. I don't completely hold it against her, especially given there's only so much you can do the first go around. And considering how there could be lots of things that could go wrong in a film, the fact that it mainly comes through, I consider that an achievement. Having gone through the process myself, I know that there are always things that you can do better. There are always things that you should have noticed at the time and you should have called on at the moment. But considering that there could be other things that could go wrong, but didn't, that I consider that a good achievement. The other is that while I can understand this situation, because I myself was in a similar circumstances, I don't completely identify with Aurora. For starters, I do not live in the Tribeca section of Manhattan, and it does, and I think this is probably the source of a lot of the vehemence against the film, is that this is a very like hipster locale, and not everybody's privileged to live in this section of Manhattan. And that sometimes that can be distracting, other times it doesn't. I think it just depends on. I think it depends on the story and how compelling the characters are. If you feel like the characters sort of draw you into that world, even if you are more or less an outsider, or that this isn't a familiar place and so forth, it you can still feel like you're a part of it. But this one, I feel like I'm not of this world at all. So I don't completely relate to it. And there's other things that I don't completely relate to for an assortment of reasons. I mean, obviously I'm not female. I don't have a younger sister. You know, I do have a younger brother. We do have our other tense moments. But though, interestingly, I think as he got older, we got more closer than we were in the past. I think through a combination of lots of various things. So anyway, so I don't I can understand the character, I can empathize, but I don't completely relate to Aurora, to the characters. And then it leads into probably the biggest, or the source of the biggest reservation for this. Lena Dunham is compared to Woody Allen, and for good reasons, and not just for the obvious that there is a moment where one of the characters was reading a book by Woody Allen, or maybe a printed screenplay. Woody Allen's name does show up explicitly in the film. I mean, apart from that, it is, if you've seen enough of Woody's films, you know what it is. And by the way, I'm sure I'm missing you. The titles that I remember offhand that I've seen Take the Money and Run. I've seen Sleeper, Annie Hall, Manhattan. I might have seen Hannah and Her Sisters. I believe I did. There might have been Love and Death. I even saw I even saw Radio Days. I actually saw it in the theater. That was a wee one. I don't know. I was well behaved. I didn't scream in the theater, unlike other kids that I've seen. There was one time where slight aside. When I saw The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo the second time, I noticed that there was someone who was less than a year old in the theater, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? Why the fuck are you taking a 1-year-old to go see The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? It's like, really? Like, find a babysitter, and if it's just too hard. Well, meet your neighbors. Go to a place where you feel that you can trust the people. I mean, just leave the kid there. Don't drag the kid around with you. Either that or to a nice restaurant. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Anyways, but I digress. So she's compared to Woody Allen, and which for me personally is a very mixed bag. There are some things I do like about Woody Allen, and there's some things that I don't like about Woody Allen, both with his films and with him personally. And I can't help but notice the similarities coming through a similar situation with Lena Dunham. I like that, first off, I like that she's approaching it from a writing standpoint, and that she wants to do something that she feels very, very genuine. The thing that really irritates me about her is how, and I don't want to accuse this as intentional, but she does come off as someone who thinks that she can be a spokesman for a generation. That I've got this attention, I got this spotlight on me. That means I can say whatever I want and be taken seriously. For instance, the Obama 2012 campaign, where she was telling people to vote for, to remember their first time, and to go into voting like as if it was your first time. And I thought that it was incredibly stupid. And I'll be completely honest, I have not had my first time yet. I have my reasons, good reasons, I think. Anyways, but as far as what I've been told or what I've heard, the whole the romanticizing of the first time is romanticizing. Most of the time, the first time is very awkward, very clumsy, and there's more often than not regret. Like, I really should have, I don't think this was really the right guy for this and such. It's like, really? You want to... You want to use the first time in politics. And this is supposedly from a party that is so open with sex and so comfortable with it. And you're thinking, and like, really? You're doing this? So it's shit like that. that just goes, no, you're not. Yes, it's great that you're out there and that you have this attention, you're able to bring up this stuff, but really you do not speak for all of us. Please don't. And yes, I did not vote for Obama twice. I did not vote for Obama twice, and I had my own reasons. There, I said it. But yeah, so that's part of that's a large part of my reservations about it and I think also similarly is that because this is a first film, it's the usual sort of kinks that you get from a first film, but hopefully would be ironed out, more improved, or better in subsequent films. So, but that's a stupid thing to. I mean, if you hold that against it, then there should be plenty of debut films that should never see the light of day, and certainly not released through the Criterion Collection. Which leads into the final thing, which is all the reactions to it. Now, I understand that ultimately when you see a film, you have an emotional reaction. You either like a film or you don't. And there isn't really anything, there really isn't anything that anyone can say to change it. If you like a film, you like a film. If you don't like a film, you don't like a film. You try to explain why it is. Oh, I like this aspect. And you try to be as intelligent and have it be a well thought out opinion as you can. I like this aspect. I noticed this performance. I agree with this situation. You can, but in the end, what you're doing is you're explaining. You're not trying to convince somebody of a particular side. What you're doing is you're articulating and explaining an emotional reaction. And that's what I want is a explanation of why you feel this way. Just hearing the emotional reaction is not enough. And certainly if it has to be nasty. For instance, speaking of another YouTube phenomenon, yes, I've seen Rebecca Black's Friday video. Yes, I think that the whole thing was atrocious. The video and most notably the song. It was painful to listen to. But what I found even more irritating was all the comments made on it. To quote a YouTube movie review, that was cyberbullying gang rape, is what it came off as. Rebecca Black must die. I hope somebody, I hope a dozen big black guys come in and gangbang her or something. It's just really, really like overdone, overblown. It's like I understand not liking the song. I totally get it. But do you really have to be that nasty? Do you really have to be that vehement? You come off as an asshole when you do that. You come off as a dick. You come off as nasty, scathing, and it's no wonder the internet is considered a depressing place to be. And that really irritates me is that it's depressing, but yet it's justified because, oh, it's the internet. You're not supposed to like stuff on the internet, or it's all these supposed rules which were formed by very high profile message boards, 4chan. It just gets really, really irritating. I think, yes, the good stuff about the internet is good, but the bad stuff about the internet is really bad. And I think that's what, back to what I said before, this film is kind of life imitating or art imitating life or life imitating art. The kind of reactions that this film gets is definitely reflective of what you find on the internet. And like I said, art at its best is where it makes that reflection, and then upon seeing it, do you keep that going, or do you try to change that? Now, do I think that tiny furniture does this? Sort of. I don't think that's really the point. I don't think the point of it is to change internet culture, but I think it is there if you want to look at it. Or that can be a basis for it. But the point of all this is that if you're going to dislike something, at the very least, be constructive about it. Don't just say, fuck tiny furniture, fuck Lena Dunham, get some fucking pants off, fuck you, you hipster, for liking this film, fuck Criterion for putting it out. Goes on and on. I mean, be constructive. You don't like the film. Okay, I get it. Why don't you like the film? And also understand that you saying that is not meant to persuade me. If I am persuaded, it should be by my own accord. I like a film because I like a film. I don't like a film because I don't like a film. Yes, it's circular logic. That's why you can't logically prove or disprove liking a film. You can the best you can do is you can explain it. But the point of the explanations is not to make a convincing argument. It's really just to illuminate and illustrate and articulate, hopefully in a civil, cordial manner, why you like something or you dislike something. So really, it's exercise some fucking cordiality. It's not that hard. Do unto others as you have others do unto you. If you don't want to be treated like shit, if you don't want to have people yell at you or insist that you get hung up by the balls or get gang raped all over the place, guess what? Don't fucking talk about it. Don't say to somebody that I'm going to string you up by the balls and I wish that you were gang raped. It's that fucking simple. Yes, I'm saying it. Yes, I know how I'm saying it, but it's to make the point. Do unto others as you have others do unto you. If you want to be treated with respect, you should do the same for others. Really, and it does get annoying. It does get irritating seeing that all the time. Like I said, it was very hard to find some constructive, more well articulated in either side, either praising the film or condemning the film, for lack of better words. But it was out there, and I'm glad that it was. In fact, I was kind of dreading this because I knew that this was going to be such a hot rod of controversy, and and I get it. I totally get it. But at the same time, it doesn't excuse, it doesn't excuse the nastiness. It doesn't excuse the vehemence. It shouldn't. I mean, really, it's grow up. You should just grow up already. And no one is forcing you to watch a film. No one's ever I can't force you. I don't want to force. I'm not that kind of I'm not that kind of guy, and two, that's not what it should be. I've done these because I want to talk about these films that I own. What I think about them, what I like about them, what I get from them when it comes up, what I don't like about them, all of that. It's just, these are really just my opinions in the end. This is just my take on it, and I am me, and I don't apologize for the things that I like, and I also don't apologize for the things I don't like. I try to do it in a well thought out way, in a well mannered way. Sometimes it can be entertaining, but ultimately, I try to be as honest and sincere and cordial as I can. And forgive me if I've been less than that. And that's ultimately what I try to do. And what you take from it is, and you just take it for what it is. It's just my opinion. If what I said interests you, or if what I said makes you want to check this out, then go ahead and check it out. If not, then that's fine. But just don't be assholes about it. I mean, really, do you really want to make the world more into shit than it already is? I mean, you would like to think that the world should be better. If you end up when you end up leaving this world through death, do you want to leave the world better than it was when you first came into it? And I don't have all the answers as to how you can make it a better world, but I think I can say with confidence that insisting that Rebecca Black be gang raped is not a way to make the world a better place. It's not calling Lena Dunham a fucking cunt. That does not make it a better place. That does not make the world a better place. Just keep that in mind. So, again, I ended up liking Tiny Furniture. I came into this with very little expectations. I had no idea that it came out. I certainly had no idea about what movements it's allegedly associated with mumblecore. But that really didn't matter to me. It just I noticed the title. I read what it was about, and I saw the 3 Reasons video, and I thought, okay, that's a title to note. And then the opportunity presented itself where I felt, okay, I want to take a plunge and get into it. And I watched it, and I ended up liking it I ended up liking it, but I also had some reservations about it. So I felt that did I think it was the greatest film in the world? No. But did I think it was the most horrid film in the world? No. And hopefully I ended up explaining a bit why. And I'm sure there's probably more that I could say, but I don't want to make this longer than it already is. So, and that's really, I think that's really all I can say about it. Hopefully it's a little bit more constructive than just saying, oh, it's the greatest film ever, or fuck Lena Dunham. But that's all one can do, right? So, and with all of that, that was Tiny Furniture. And until next time, take care.